I stared at my phone screen, reading the text from Dad for the third time. We disown you. From now on, talk to my lawyer. Mom had sent an identical message 2 minutes later. Then came Emma, my 25-year-old sister, with her usual venom. You're on your own, followed by a heart emoji that felt like a dagger. 3 years of working 60-hour weeks at Morrison Family Manufacturing, trying to save our dying company with my automation software, and this was my reward. I typed back one word. Okay. The cursor blinked after that single word, like a heartbeat in the silence. 24 hours earlier, everything had been different. I had walked into our cramped conference room carrying my laptop and 3 years of hope, ready to present the solution that would save Morrison Family Manufacturing from bankruptcy. The wood-paneled walls displayed faded family photos spanning 4 decades. Dad, Robert Morrison, sat at the head of our mahogany table that had seen better years, just like our company. Mom, Linda Morrison, perched beside him with that worried expression she wore whenever family and business collided. My sister Emma lounged in her chair with the confidence of someone who believed she understood everything while grasping nothing. Uncle Jerry, Dad's younger brother and company co-owner, had positioned himself near the window where afternoon sunlight highlighted the stress lines around his eyes. Charts showing 18 months of declining profits lay scattered across the table like evidence of our collective failure. The burnt coffee smell mixed with desperation created an atmosphere thick enough to choke on. I had opened my laptop with trembling hands, my heart hammering against my ribs as I prepared to demonstrate the artificial intelligence-driven automation system I had developed during countless nights and weekends. This software can increase our production efficiency by 400%. I had begun, my voice steadier than I felt. It will cut our manufacturing costs in half and eliminate the quality control issues that have been plaguing us. Dad's face had turned the color of our company's faded red logo. You developed this using company equipment during company time. That makes it company property, not yours. I built this on my own time, using my personal laptop and servers I paid for myself, I replied, clicking through demonstrations that showed robotic assembly lines working in perfect synchronization. I only used company data to ensure the system would integrate properly. Emma had leaned forward with that predatory smile she reserved for my failures. So you admit you stole our data to build your little science project. I used publicly available specifications and production metrics to create something that could save our jobs. I shot back, watching her expression sour. Something that could save all 78 employees from unemployment. Mom's disappointed sigh cut deeper than any shouting could have. That sound carried 28 years of maternal love, mixed with perpetual disappointment in her eldest child. Tobias, how could you go behind our backs like this? We trusted you. The wall clock's aggressive ticking filled the silence as I demonstrated real-time quality monitoring, predictive maintenance algorithms, and cost reduction projections that should have made everyone in that room weep with relief. Instead, I watched my family's faces harden with suspicion and wounded pride. Uncle Jerry had remained silent throughout my presentation, but his eyes studied the laptop screen with an engineer's appreciation. He understood what my software could accomplish, even if family politics prevented him from speaking up. You're asking us to bet the entire company on some computer program you cooked up in secret, Dad said, his voice carrying the weight of 43 years in manufacturing. This family has built Morrison Manufacturing through honest work and traditional methods. We don't need some fancy artificial intelligence to do what skilled craftsmen have done for generations. Our skilled craftsmen are producing parts that fail quality inspections at a 37% rate, I replied, pulling up the latest Peterson automotive rejection reports. Our biggest client is threatening to cancel their $5 million annual contract unless we improve our standards immediately. Emma's smugness wavered for just a moment before returning full force. Maybe if you spent less time playing with computers and more time actually learning the business, you'd understand that client relationships matter more than fancy technology. Client relationships won't matter if we can't deliver products that meet their specifications, I said, my patience finally snapping. We have 48 hours to prove we can meet Peterson's new quality standards, or they walk away. This automation system is our only hope. The room erupted into arguments about loyalty, tradition, and family values, while our company bled money and our employees faced Christmas unemployment. I had sat there listening to my father lecture me about betrayal, while his pride killed the very business he claimed to love. "Choose," Dad had finally said, his voice carrying the finality of a judge pronouncing sentence. "Abandon this project and work within the family structure, or leave this company and this family permanently." I had looked around that room one final time, seeing Mom's tearful eyes, Emma's satisfied smirk, Uncle Jerry's conflicted expression, and Dad's unyielding glare. Then I had closed my laptop and stood up. "I choose my integrity," I said, walking toward the door. "I choose innovation over stubborn pride. And I choose to build something meaningful instead of watching everything crumble while pretending nothing's wrong." The silence behind me spoke louder than any response could have. I packed my belongings from the office I had occupied for 3 years, carefully removing every personal item while my family watched from the conference room windows. The weight of their stares followed me to my car, where I sat for 10 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. My phone had buzzed with the first disownment text as I drove away from the factory that had been my second home since college graduation. The formal language felt like legal documents dissolving our family bonds through cellular towers and satellite signals. But it was Emma's message that truly stung. That heart emoji transformed her cruelty into something almost playful, as if destroying her brother's relationship with their parents was just another game to win. She had always competed with me for parental approval, but I never realized how far her resentment could push her. Now, staring at my phone screen in the parking lot of the apartment complex where my girlfriend Sarah lived, I felt something unexpected. Relief. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't have to pretend my family's dysfunction was normal. I didn't have to smile while they dismissed my contributions or bite my tongue while they blamed me for problems I was trying to solve. My phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Jerry. "I'm sorry about today. Your software is impressive. Don't give up on us completely." I typed back, "Thanks. Take care of yourself." Then I walked toward Sarah's building, carrying my laptop bag and 3 years of technical innovations that my family considered worthless. Behind me, Morrison Family Manufacturing continued its slow march toward bankruptcy, and ahead of me lay possibilities I had never allowed myself to imagine. The automatic doors of Sarah's building closed behind me with a soft whoosh, cutting off my view of the parking lot where my old life had officially ended. Whatever came next, at least it would be mine to choose. Sarah's apartment smelled like vanilla candles and fresh possibility. Her modern furniture and clean lines created a stark contrast to the cluttered traditional home where I had grown up surrounded by family photos and inherited furniture that carried too much history. "You did the right thing," Sarah said, pouring wine while I set up my laptop in her spare room. "Your family never appreciated your talent anyway." Sarah Martinez worked as a project manager for a software development company downtown. Her efficiency and ambition had always impressed me, though tonight her eagerness to discuss my break from family felt almost rehearsed. 3 years of trying to save their company, and this is how they repay you," she continued, settling beside me on her sleek gray couch. "Maybe it's time to focus on your own future, instead of trying to rescue people who don't want to be saved." I had spent the evening refining my automation software, while Sarah researched patent applications and licensing opportunities. The code flowed like poetry across my screen, each algorithm representing months of careful development and testing. For the first time since building the system, I could work on it without looking over my shoulder or hiding my progress from family members who saw innovation as betrayal. My phone rang at 9:30 with a call from Dr. Marcus Chen, head of industrial innovation at Stanford University. I had uploaded my portfolio to several academic platforms months earlier, hoping to get feedback from experts in the field. "Tobias Morrison," Dr. Chen said, his voice carrying the excitement of someone who had discovered hidden treasure. "I've been reviewing your automation software for the past 4 hours. This is remarkable work." "Thank you, Dr. Chen. I appreciate you taking the time to look at it." "Taking time?" "Son, this technology could revolutionize small-scale manufacturing across the entire country. I've forwarded your portfolio to colleagues at Innovate Solutions. They're one of the largest technology licensing companies on the West Coast." My heart started racing. Licensing companies? They acquire promising technologies and bring them to market through partnerships with major corporations, Dr. Chen explained. "Based on what I'm seeing here, you're looking at a licensing deal worth several $1,000,000. Sarah's eyes widened as she listened to my side of the conversation. She grabbed my arm with an excitement that felt genuine for the first time that evening. "Several million," I managed to say. Conservative estimate would be $2.5 million for initial licensing rights, with royalties that could reach 8 figures over time. Dr. Chen continued. I'm sending your contact information to their acquisitions team tonight. Expect a call tomorrow morning. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence while Sarah paced around her living room, practically vibrating with energy. $2.5 million, she repeated. Tobias, do you realize what this means? You could start your own company. We could move to California, get a place in Silicon Valley, really make something of ourselves. The word we hung in the air between us. Sarah and I had been dating for 8 months, but we had never discussed long-term plans or major life changes. Now she was mapping out our future with the confidence of someone who had been planning for this moment. It's just an initial conversation, I said. Nothing's decided yet. But this proves you were right all along, Sarah insisted. Your family called your work worthless, and now Stanford is saying it's worth millions. You don't owe them anything anymore. I walked to the window overlooking the city where I had grown up. Somewhere out there, Morrison Family Manufacturing sat dark and empty, its 78 employees sleeping uneasily while their jobs hung in the balance. Dad was probably lying awake, worrying about bankruptcy. Mom was likely crying into her pillow, and Emma was probably planning her exit strategy. The rational part of my mind agreed with Sarah. My family had rejected my help and disowned me for trying to save them. I didn't owe them anything beyond basic human decency. But Grandmother Morrison's voice echoed in my memory, reminding me that family meant more than just blood relationships or legal documents. I had visited her grave 3 days earlier, carrying flowers and unfinished grief. She had taught me programming basics on an ancient computer when I was 12, encouraging my interest in technology while everyone else in the family dismissed it as a waste of time. Standing beside her headstone under autumn trees shedding golden leaves, I had promised to make her proud. Family isn't just about being right, she used to say during our weekend programming sessions. It's about being there when everything falls apart. But did that wisdom apply when family had chosen to fall apart without me? My laptop chimed with an urgent email from Peterson Automotive. James Wheeler, their head of procurement, had sent a formal ultimatum. Morrison Manufacturing has 48 hours to demonstrate significant quality improvements, or Peterson Automotive will terminate our partnership effective immediately. This decision impacts $5 million in annual business and is non-negotiable. I forwarded the email to Uncle Jerry with a brief note. Thought you should see this. His response came back within minutes. We know. Robert is in denial, but we're finished without a miracle. I'm sorry your family couldn't see what you were offering us. Sarah read the emails over my shoulder, her expression shifting from sympathy to frustration. See? They're going to lose everything anyway, and they'll probably blame you for it somehow, she said. Take the money from Innovate Solutions and let them face the consequences of their stubbornness. I spent the night lying awake in Sarah's guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling while algorithms and family memories competed for space in my head. The automation software represented 3 years of innovation and hope. It could save Morrison Manufacturing, transform our production capabilities, and secure jobs for people who had become like extended family to me. But it could also buy me freedom from a family that had never understood my contributions and a fresh start with someone who believed in my potential. At 3 a.m, I made a decision. I would hear what Innovate Solutions had to offer, but I wouldn't commit to anything until I understood all my options. Maybe there was a way to help my family without sacrificing my own future. Maybe I could find a solution that served everyone's interests. Or maybe I was still naive enough to believe that love could overcome pride and stubbornness. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is James Wheeler from Peterson Automotive. I heard about your situation from industry contacts. Your automation software has an impressive reputation. If you're looking for opportunities outside Morrison Manufacturing, we should talk. I stared at the message, realizing that word about my departure had already spread through the tight-knit manufacturing community. Companies were circling like vultures around what they assumed was Morrison's inevitable collapse. But they had no idea what I was really planning. The call from Mom came at 6:47 in the morning, jolting me from restless sleep. Her voice carried a panic I had never heard before, not even during Dad's previous health scares or the company's worst financial periods. Tobias, you need to come to the hospital right now, she sobbed into the phone. Your father collapsed at the factory this morning. The doctors say he had a mild heart attack. I was dressed and driving within 10 minutes, Sarah still asleep in her bedroom, as I raced through empty morning streets towards St. Mary's Medical Center. The radio played cheerful pop songs that felt obscene against the backdrop of family crisis, so I drove in silence while my mind processed the implications of Dad's collapse. The hospital's emergency department buzzed with controlled chaos. Mom sat in the waiting area looking smaller and more fragile than I had ever seen her. Her usually perfect hair hung limp around her shoulders, and her makeup couldn't hide the red-rimmed eyes that spoke of hours spent crying. "How is he?" I asked, settling into the uncomfortable plastic chair beside her. "Stable, but weak," Mom replied, gripping my hand with desperate strength. The stress finally caught up with him. 43 years of running that company, and now. She didn't finish the sentence, but we both understood. Morrison Manufacturing was dying, taking Dad's health and our family's legacy down with it. The Peterson inspection was a disaster, Mom continued, her voice barely above a whisper. 93% of the parts they tested were deemed defective. They canceled the contract immediately and demanded return of their advance payments. My stomach dropped. Peterson Automotive represented almost 40% of our annual revenue. Losing them didn't just threaten bankruptcy, it guaranteed it. "Where's Emma?" "She's been at the factory all morning, trying to handle the crisis," Mom said. "But the bank is threatening immediate foreclosure on both the business and our house. We have less than a week before they seize everything." Uncle Jerry appeared in the waiting room doorway, his face carrying the weight of someone who had aged a decade overnight. His usually neat appearance had given way to rumpled clothes and exhausted desperation. "Tobias, thank God you're here," he said, pulling me into a fierce hug. "We need your help. What can I do?" Uncle Jerry glanced around the waiting room before lowering his voice. "I've been reviewing our financial records, trying to understand how things got this bad this quickly. There are discrepancies that don't make sense." He pulled out a folder thick with bank statements and accounting reports. "Someone has been moving money out of our operating accounts for the past 18 months. Small amounts at first, but recently the transfers have gotten much larger." "How much are we talking about?" "Nearly $400,000 total," Uncle Jerry said, his jaw tight with controlled anger. "Money that should have gone toward equipment maintenance and quality control upgrades. Money that might have prevented the Peterson disaster." I studied the financial documents, noting patterns in the unauthorized transfers. The timing coincided with Emma's increased involvement in company finances after her promotion to marketing director. She had requested access to accounting systems to better coordinate client billing and promotional expenses. "Have you told the police?" "Not yet," Uncle Jerry admitted. "I wanted to talk to family first. If this gets out, it will destroy what little reputation we have left." Mom looked up from her tissue-dampened hands. Who would do such a thing? Who would steal from their own family? The question hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. None of us wanted to voice the obvious suspicion, but Uncle Jerry's meaningful glance told me he had reached the same conclusion I was forming. A doctor approached our small group with the professional sympathy that medical professionals developed for delivering difficult news. "Mrs. Morrison, your husband is awake and asking for his family." Dad's hospital room smelled like disinfectant and defeat. He lay connected to monitoring equipment that beeped with electronic reminders of his mortality. When he saw me enter behind Mom and Uncle Jerry, his expression shifted from relief to shame. "I'm sorry, son," he said, his voice weak but sincere. "I was wrong about your software. I was wrong about a lot of things. Dad, don't worry about that now. Just focus on getting better. The company is finished," he continued, tears gathering in his eyes. 4 generations of Morrison family tradition, and I'm the one who couldn't keep it alive. 78 people are going to lose their jobs because of my pride and stubbornness. Mom gripped his hand while Uncle Jerry stood at the foot of the bed looking like he wanted to comfort his older brother but didn't know how. "It's not over yet," I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it myself. "The bank is seizing everything next week," Dad replied. "There's no time left for miracles." My phone buzzed with a call from Dr. Chen at Stanford. I excused myself to take it in the hallway, where morning sunlight streamed through tall windows overlooking the parking lot. "Tobias, I have extraordinary news," Dr. Chen said without preamble. "Innovate Solutions wants to fast-track your licensing agreement. They're prepared to offer $7.5 million for exclusive rights to your automation technology." $7.5 million? They recognize the revolutionary potential of your work and want to secure it before competitors become aware of its existence, Dr. Chen explained. They're also willing to provide guaranteed implementation contracts worth an additional $2 million annually for any manufacturing partner you recommend. I leaned against the hospital wall, my mind racing through possibilities. Implementation contracts? They would hire your recommended partner to manufacture products using your automation system under their licensing agreement, Dr. Chen said. It's essentially a way to ensure ongoing revenue for both you and any company you choose to work with. The irony was almost too perfect. Innovate Solutions was offering me enough money to save Morrison Manufacturing while simultaneously providing a path to long-term prosperity through partnership arrangements. The family that had disowned me could benefit from the very technology they had rejected. How quickly could this happen? I asked. They want to finalize the agreement within 48 hours, Dr. Chen said. The contracts are already being prepared. All they need is your signature and bank account information. I thanked Dr. Chen and ended the call, staring out the hospital window at a city where my family's world was collapsing while my own future expanded beyond anything I had imagined. Emma appeared at the end of the hallway, walking toward me with an expression I couldn't read. Her usual confidence had been replaced by something that looked almost like fear. "How's Dad?" she asked, stopping a few feet away from me. "Weak but stable," I replied, studying her face for signs of guilt or remorse. "Uncle Jerry told me about the missing money." Emma's composure cracked for just a moment before she recovered. "It's probably just accounting errors. The stress is making everyone paranoid. $400,000 in systematic transfers over 18 months isn't an accounting error, Emma." Her silence told me everything I needed to know. The sister who had mocked my disownment just 24 hours earlier was also the person who had been slowly bleeding our company to death. "We need to talk," she said finally. "Yes," I agreed. "We definitely do." Emma led me to the hospital's cafeteria, where we sat across from each other at a corner table, surrounded by the quiet desperation that permeated all medical facilities. She ordered black coffee with shaking hands while I tried to reconcile the confident woman who had enjoyed my humiliation yesterday with the frightened person sitting before me now. "I never meant for Dad to have a heart attack," she began, her voice barely audible above the ambient noise of medical equipment and hushed conversations. "But you did mean to steal $400,000 from our family's company." Emma's facade finally crumbled completely. Tears she had been holding back for hours spilled down her cheeks, taking her mascara with them and revealing the raw fear underneath her professional veneer. "I felt invisible," she whispered. "You were the brilliant engineer with innovative ideas. Dad looked to you for solutions to every technical problem. Even when I brought in new clients or negotiated better supplier contracts, nobody noticed my contributions. So you decided to steal from us?" "I didn't plan it that way," Emma insisted, wiping her nose with a paper napkin that immediately became soggy with tears and regret. "It started small, just borrowing a few thousand here and there to cover personal expenses when my salary wasn't enough." "Personal expenses?" Emma looked toward the cafeteria windows where morning sunlight illuminated her shame. "Marcus Hartwell from Hartwell Industries had been courting me for months, offering a position with a six-figure salary if I could provide him with client lists and trade secrets from Morrison Manufacturing. The name Hartwell Industries made my stomach clench. They were our largest competitor, a corporate giant that specialized in acquiring struggling family businesses through hostile takeovers and aggressive pricing strategies. "You were planning to betray our family to our biggest competitor?" "I was planning to survive," Emma shot back, some of her old fire returning. "Morrison Manufacturing has been dying for years. Dad refuses to modernize. Mom enables his stubbornness, and you were too busy playing with computers to notice we were hemorrhaging money. My computers were trying to save the company." "Your computers were 3 years too late," Emma replied. "I started taking money to prove to Hartwell that I could deliver valuable intelligence. I thought if I could demonstrate my worth to them, I could secure my own future when Morrison inevitably collapsed." The scope of her betrayal was breathtaking. While I had been working 60-hour weeks to develop technology that could save our company, my own sister had been systematically sabotaging our financial stability to advance her personal career prospects. "How much did Hartwell pay you for our secrets?" Emma's silence stretched long enough to become its own answer. "Nothing," she finally admitted. "They kept promising payment and promotion, but they wanted proof of my value first. The The stolen money was supposed to demonstrate that I could access our financial systems and manipulate them when necessary. You destroyed our company to impress people who were using you? I destroyed nothing, Emma snapped, her self-pity transforming into defensive anger. Morrison Manufacturing was already finished. I just tried to position myself to survive the inevitable collapse. My phone rang with a call from Innovate Solutions. The number Dr. Chen had given me appeared on the screen, representing opportunity and escape from the family dysfunction that surrounded me. Tobias Morrison speaking. Mr. Morrison, this is Jennifer Walsh from Innovate Solutions. Dr. Chen has spoken very highly of your automation technology. We're prepared to formalize our licensing offer immediately. I appreciate your interest, Miss Walsh. $7.5 million for exclusive rights, plus guaranteed implementation contracts worth $2 million annually, she continued. We can have contracts prepared and funds transferred within 24 hours if you're ready to proceed. Emma watched my face as I listened to an offer that represented more money than Morrison Manufacturing had earned in the past 3 years combined. Her expression shifted from shame to calculation as she realized the conversation's significance. I'll need to review the contracts before making any commitments, I said. Of course. I'll email everything within the hour, Miss Walsh replied. Mr. Morrison, I want you to understand that this technology could revolutionize manufacturing efficiency across multiple industries. We're not just acquiring software, we're partnering with a visionary. After ending the call, I sat staring at Emma while she processed what she had overheard. $7.5 million, she said slowly, for the software Dad called worthless. For 3 years of work that could have saved our company, if anyone had been willing to listen. Emma leaned forward with renewed intensity. Tobias, what if we worked together? What if I helped you negotiate with Innovate Solutions, and you used part of the money to save Morrison Manufacturing? You mean the company you've been stealing from and planning to betray? I mean the company that employs 78 people who don't deserve to lose their jobs because of our family's dysfunction, Emma replied. I made terrible choices, but that doesn't mean everyone else should suffer. Her proposal was simultaneously logical and absurd. The sister who had mocked my disownment was now asking me to rescue her from the consequences of her own betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. How's your dad? When are you coming back? We need to discuss the Innovate Solutions opportunity. Even Sarah, who had supported my break from family obligations, was now positioning herself to benefit from my success. The money had transformed everyone's perspective on my value and their relationship to me. Emma, I need you to understand something, I said, leaning across the table so she couldn't avoid my eyes. Your actions didn't just hurt the company. You hurt Dad's health, Mom's emotional stability, Uncle Jerry's trust, and every employee who depends on Morrison Manufacturing for their livelihood. I know that now. Do you? Or are you just scared of going to prison for embezzlement? Emma's composure shattered again, but this time her tears seemed genuinely connected to remorse rather than self-pity. Both, she whispered. I'm terrified of prison, but I'm also horrified by what I've done. When Dad collapsed this morning, I realized that my selfishness might have killed him. That's not who I want to be. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or continued deception. Emma had always been skilled at presenting herself in whatever light served her interests, but the raw fear and genuine regret in her expression seemed authentic. If I help you, if I use this money to save Morrison Manufacturing, what guarantee do I have that you won't betray the family again the next time someone offers you a better deal? None, Emma admitted. All I can offer is my commitment to spend whatever time I have left making amends for the damage I've caused. My laptop chimed with an email from Innovate Solutions containing preliminary contracts and financial projections. The documents outlined licensing terms that would make me wealthy beyond anything I had previously imagined, while providing ongoing revenue streams through manufacturing partnerships. But buried in the technical specifications was language that caught my attention. Licensee retains right to recommend preferred implementation partners for initial pilot programs. The clause meant I could direct Innovate Solutions to work with Morrison Manufacturing as their preferred partner for implementing my automation technology. We could license my software to generate immediate capital while simultaneously securing long-term contracts that would transform our family business into a modern, profitable operation. Emma, I'm going to make you an offer that you probably don't deserve. She looked up from her coffee with hope and desperation competing for space in her expression. I'll use the Innovate Solutions money to save Morrison Manufacturing, but only if you agree to several conditions. Anything. First, you confess the embezzlement to Dad, Mom, and Uncle Jerry. Full confession, complete accountability, no excuses or justifications. Emma nodded, though her face paled at the prospect. Second, you work with Uncle Jerry and our attorney to develop a restitution plan that repays every stolen dollar with appropriate interest. I'll do whatever it takes. Third, you provide written documentation of every interaction you've had with Hartwell Industries, including copies of any information you shared with them. I kept records of everything, Emma said. I thought I might need leverage someday. Fourth, you accept a reduced role in the company with no access to financial systems and submit to regular auditing of your activities. Yes. And fifth, you help me expose Hartwell Industries for whatever illegal activities they're involved in. If they manipulated you into corporate espionage, they've probably done it to other people as well. Emma's expression shifted from relief to determination. Marcus Hartwell recorded some of our conversations because he thought I might eventually become a liability. He wanted insurance against me, exposing their recruitment tactics. You have recordings of Hartwell Industries attempting to recruit corporate spies? I have recordings, emails, and documentation of systematic attempts to infiltrate and destroy family-owned manufacturing companies across 3 states, Emma said. They're not just competitors. They're predators. I stared at my sister, realizing that her betrayal might have inadvertently provided us with evidence of corporate crimes that extended far beyond our family's situation. Emma, you may have just given us the leverage we need to destroy the people who manipulated you into destroying us. For the first time since entering the hospital, she smiled. Uncle Jerry's face cycled through disbelief, rage, and calculation as Emma confessed her crimes in Dad's hospital room. Mom gripped the bed rail with white knuckles while Dad closed his eyes and absorbed the magnitude of his daughter's betrayal in silence that felt heavier than any words could have been. $400,000, Uncle Jerry finally said, his voice carrying the weight of someone whose trust had been systematically demolished. Money that could have prevented every crisis we're facing right now. I know, Emma whispered, her earlier defiance completely gone. I know what I've done, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. The rest of your life might be spent in prison, Mom said, her maternal instincts warring with her sense of justice. Embezzlement is a felony, Emma. What were you thinking? Dad opened his eyes and looked at his daughter with an expression that mixed profound disappointment with grudging understanding. She was thinking the same thing I was thinking yesterday when I rejected Tobias's software. She was thinking that loyalty to this family meant accepting failure rather than embracing change. The room fell silent except for the steady beeping of Dad's heart monitor, which seemed to emphasize how fragile our family's bonds had become. But you hurt people, Emma, Dad continued, his voice gaining strength. You hurt your brother, your mother, your uncle, and every employee who trusted this family to provide stable employment. Pride might be a sin, but pride doesn't steal money from people who depend on you. Emma nodded, tears flowing freely as she faced the full weight of her father's disappointment. However, Dad said, shifting his attention to me, your brother has given us a path forward if we're brave enough to take it. I pulled out my laptop and opened the Innovate Solutions contracts while Uncle Jerry positioned himself to read over my shoulder. The terms were even more favorable than Dr. Chen had described, with licensing fees totaling $7.5 million and implementation partnership opportunities that could generate ongoing revenue for decades. They want to use Morrison Manufacturing as their preferred pilot partner for bringing this automation technology to market, I explained. We license my software to them for immediate capital, then earn additional revenue by implementing their systems for other manufacturers. How much additional revenue? Uncle Jerry asked, his engineer's mind already processing the financial possibilities. Conservative projections suggest $2 to $3 million annually for the first 5 years, with potential for growth as the technology spreads to new industries. Mom looked between her sons with an expression that mixed hope with lingering suspicion. This sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? The catch is that we have to work together as a family, I replied. Innovate Solutions wants stability and competence from their implementation partner. They're not going to trust us with multi-million-dollar contracts if we're fighting each other or stealing from the company. Emma spoke up from her corner chair where she had been quietly studying the contract documents. There's also the problem of Hartwell Industries. Marcus Hartwell isn't going to quietly accept losing the opportunity to acquire Morrison Manufacturing through bankruptcy proceedings. What do you mean? Uncle Jerry asked. Emma pulled out her phone and scrolled through saved emails and recorded conversations. Hartwell has been systematically targeting family-owned manufacturers for hostile acquisition. They identify vulnerable companies, then infiltrate them with recruited employees who sabotage operations while providing intelligence about business practices and client relationships. They recruited you to sabotage us? They recruited me to provide information, Emma clarified. The sabotage was my own stupid addition to try to prove my value to them. But I documented everything because I suspected they might eventually try to eliminate me as a witness to their methods. Uncle Jerry leaned forward with intense interest. What kind of documentation? Emma began playing audio recordings on her phone speaker. Marcus Hartwell's voice filled the hospital room with casual discussions of corporate espionage, employee recruitment strategies, and calculated efforts to destroy family businesses through manufactured financial crises. This is criminal conspiracy, Uncle Jerry said. Corporate espionage, racketeering, possibly interstate fraud if they're operating across multiple states. They are operating across multiple states, Emma confirmed. I have evidence of similar operations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Hartwell Industries has acquired 17 family manufacturing companies in the past 4 years using these tactics. My phone rang with a call from an unknown number. The caller ID showed a Chicago area code that I didn't recognize. Tobias Morrison speaking. Mr. Morrison, this is Agent Patricia Williams with the FBI Economic Crimes Division. We understand you may have information relevant to an ongoing investigation into corporate espionage activities in the manufacturing sector. I looked around the hospital room where my family sat, staring at me with expressions of surprise and growing realization. Agent Williams, how did you get my name? Dr. Marcus Chen at Stanford contacted our office after learning about systematic attempts to infiltrate and destroy family-owned manufacturing companies. Your name came up in connection with both potential victimization and possible evidence of criminal activities. Emma gestured frantically for me to put the call on speaker. I obliged, and Agent Williams's voice filled the room with official authority that made everyone sit up straighter. Agent Williams, I'm here with my family, including someone who may have evidence relevant to your investigation. Is this a secure location for discussion of sensitive information? It's a private hospital room. We can speak freely. Mr. Morrison, we're investigating Hartwell Industries for potential violations of federal racketeering statutes. We have reports of systematic corporate espionage, employee recruitment for illegal activities, and manipulation of financial markets through coordinated attacks on family-owned businesses. Emma cleared her throat nervously. Agent Williams, this is Emma Morrison, Tobias's sister. I believe I have extensive evidence of Hartwell Industries' criminal activities. What type of evidence, Miss Morrison? Recorded conversations, email communications, financial records of payments for corporate intelligence, and documentation of similar operations targeting companies in multiple states. The silence on the phone lasted long enough for all of us to worry that Agent Williams had hung up. Miss Morrison, are you willing to cooperate fully with a federal investigation, including potential testimony before a grand jury? Emma looked around the room at family members whose trust she had betrayed, and whose forgiveness she desperately needed. Yes, she said firmly. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to stop these people and make amends for my part in their crimes. Mr. Morrison, how quickly could you and your sister meet with our investigative team? I checked my watch, noting that we had been in the hospital for 6 hours while our world transformed around us. We could be available this afternoon if necessary. It's necessary, Agent Williams replied. Hartwell Industries is accelerating their acquisition timeline for Morrison Manufacturing. Our intelligence suggests they plan to force immediate bankruptcy proceedings through coordinated pressure from affiliated financial institutions. Dad struggled to sit up in his hospital bed, his face flushed with anger that temporarily overcame his physical weakness. They're trying to steal our company through criminal conspiracy? Mr. Morrison Sr., that appears to be exactly what they're doing, Agent Williams confirmed. But your family may have inadvertently provided us with the evidence we need to stop them and prosecute everyone involved in this conspiracy. Emma gripped my hand with desperate gratitude while Uncle Jerry began making notes about timeline and evidence organization. Mom looked between her children with an expression that mixed relief with maternal pride in their willingness to fight for family and justice. Agent Williams, how do we proceed from here? First, we need you to sign contracts with Innovate Solutions immediately to prevent Hartwell from claiming your technology through bankruptcy proceedings. Second, Miss Morrison needs to provide all evidence to our forensic accounting team. Third, we're going to use your family's situation as a controlled operation to gather additional evidence of Hartwell's criminal activities. A controlled operation? We want Hartwell Industries to believe they're succeeding in their acquisition plan while we document their illegal methods. Your family will be under federal protection, but you'll need to appear vulnerable while we gather evidence for prosecution. I looked around the hospital room where my family had gathered to face our crisis together. 24 hours earlier, they had disowned me for trying to save our company. Now we were working together to expose corporate criminals while building a future based on innovation and integrity. Agent Williams, my family is ready to cooperate fully with your investigation. Excellent. We'll meet this afternoon to begin documentation and evidence collection. And Mr. Morrison? Yes? Don't sign anything with Innovate Solutions until our legal team reviews the contracts. We want to ensure your interests are protected while you're helping us expose federal crimes. After ending the call, we sat in silence, absorbing the magnitude of what we had learned. Emma's betrayal had inadvertently exposed a criminal conspiracy that threatened family businesses across multiple states. My software innovation had provided the leverage we needed to fight back against corporate predators, and our family crisis had revealed both our capacity for dysfunction and our potential for redemption. Dad reached for my hand with fingers that trembled from medication and emotion. Son, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you recognition that you've been trying to save us while I've been too proud to accept help. Dad, we're going to save the company and our family together. Together, he agreed, his voice carrying the strength of someone who had rediscovered hope in the midst of apparent defeat. But as we prepared for battle against Hartwell Industries, none of us suspected that Marcus Hartwell had one final weapon that could destroy everything we were building. Agent Williams's office occupied an entire floor of the federal building downtown, where Emma and I spent 4 hours documenting 3 years of corporate espionage and financial manipulation. The evidence she had collected painted a picture of criminal conspiracy that extended far beyond Morrison Manufacturing into a network of targeted family businesses across the Midwest. 17 companies in 4 states, Agent Williams said, spreading photographs across her conference table like cards in a deadly game. Hartwell Industries has perfected a system of acquisition through sabotage that generates millions in illegal profits annually. Emma's recordings played through high-quality speakers, while federal agents took notes and marked timeline correlations. Marcus Hartwell's voice discussed employee recruitment, financial manipulation, and market timing with the casual confidence of someone who believed himself untouchable. The pattern is always the same, Agent Williams explained. Hartwell identifies family businesses with valuable assets, aging ownership, and potential internal conflicts. They recruit vulnerable employees through promises of career advancement, then use those employees to destabilize operations until bankruptcy becomes inevitable. Then they acquire the companies for cents on the dollar through affiliates and shell corporations, added Agent Martinez, who specialized in financial crimes investigation. What about the families whose businesses they destroy? I asked. Usually scattered and financially ruined, Agent Williams replied grimly. Most never realized they were victims of coordinated criminal activity rather than simple business failure. Emma had been silent throughout the evidence presentation, but she finally spoke up during a break in documentation. There's something else you need to know about Hartwell's operations, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Agent Williams looked up from her notes with sharp attention. What kind of something? Marcus Hartwell mentioned acquiring financial institutions to create controlled pressure on target companies. He said it was more efficient than waiting for natural market forces to create bankruptcy conditions. What type of financial institutions? Emma pulled out her phone and scrolled through encrypted notes she had hidden in a productivity app. Small banks, credit unions, equipment financing companies. He specifically mentioned acquiring Morrison Manufacturing's primary lender through a shell company. The room fell silent except for the hum of office equipment and the distant sound of downtown traffic. Agent Williams exchanged meaningful looks with her colleagues before focusing intently on Emma. Miss Morrison, are you telling us that Hartwell Industries owns the bank that's threatening to foreclose on your family's business? I'm telling you that Marcus Hartwell bragged about controlling our financial destiny through strategic acquisition of our creditors. Agent Martinez began typing rapidly on his laptop, accessing federal databases that tracked corporate ownership and financial relationships. Within minutes, his screen displayed a complex web of shell companies and subsidiary relationships. Hartwell Industries acquired majority control of Morrison Manufacturing's primary lender 6 months ago through a shell company called Midwest Financial Holdings, he announced. They've been manufacturing the financial crisis that's forcing your family toward bankruptcy. The scope of Hartwell's manipulation was breathtaking. They hadn't just recruited Emma to sabotage our operations. They had simultaneously gained control of our financing to ensure that even perfect performance wouldn't prevent financial collapse. This means Hartwell can force bankruptcy proceedings regardless of our business performance or the Innovate Solutions licensing deal, I said, feeling the walls close in around us despite our recent victories. Not necessarily, Agent Williams replied with a smile that suggested hidden knowledge. Federal law prohibits the use of financial institutions to facilitate racketeering activities. If we can prove Hartwell acquired your lender specifically to manipulate your company toward bankruptcy, their ownership becomes invalid, and any resulting foreclosure actions become void. How do we prove specific intent? Emma held up her phone with an expression that mixed satisfaction with lingering guilt. Marcus Hartwell recorded our conversations because he wanted insurance against me becoming a liability. But he also recorded his own phone calls for the same reason, and he occasionally played excerpts for me to demonstrate his power and foresight. You have recordings of Hartwell discussing acquisition of Morrison's lender? I have recordings of Hartwell explaining exactly why he acquired your bank and how he planned to use foreclosure threats to force your family into selling the company for a fraction of its actual value. Agent Williams stood up from her chair with an excitement that transformed her professional demeanor into something resembling predatory satisfaction. Miss Morrison, you may have just provided us with evidence of federal crimes that carry 20-year prison sentences. What happens next? I asked. Next, we implement a controlled operation that allows Hartwell to believe he's succeeded while we document additional criminal activities and protect your family's interests. What type of controlled operation? Agent Martinez pulled out a detailed organizational chart showing Hartwell Industries' corporate structure and criminal network. You sign the Innovate Solutions licensing agreement immediately, but we arrange for the funds to be held in federal escrow pending resolution of ongoing financial disputes. Hartwell believes you're desperate and defenseless, so he accelerates his acquisition timeline and exposes additional criminal activities. Meanwhile, Agent Williams added, we use federal authority to freeze foreclosure proceedings based on evidence of criminal manipulation of financial markets. Your family maintains control of Morrison Manufacturing while we gather evidence for prosecution. How long will this take? 6 to 8 weeks for complete evidence collection, followed by simultaneous arrests and indictments across 4 states. Emma leaned forward with concern etched across her features. What about my legal situation? I committed embezzlement and provided corporate secrets to criminals. Your cooperation with this investigation will weigh heavily in your favor, Agent Williams assured her. Federal prosecutors understand the difference between criminal mastermind and manipulated victim, especially when the victim provides evidence that stops ongoing crimes. But I will face charges? Probably, Agent Williams admitted. But we'll recommend minimum sentencing with provisions for community service and restitution rather than prison time. I looked at my sister, seeing genuine remorse and determination to make amends despite the personal costs involved. 24 hours earlier, she had mocked my disownment while secretly betraying our family. Now she was risking prison to expose the criminals who had manipulated her into destroying the people she loved. Emma, I'm proud of you for doing the right thing, even though it might be too late to matter. It's never too late to choose integrity over convenience. My phone rang with a call from Marcus Hartwell himself. Agent Williams gestured frantically for me to answer while her team activated recording equipment. Mr. Morrison, this is Marcus Hartwell from Hartwell Industries. I understand your family is facing some financial difficulties. Mr. Hartwell, how can I help you? Actually, I'm calling to help you, Hartwell replied with artificial warmth that couldn't hide his predatory intent. We're prepared to acquire Morrison Manufacturing immediately for $15 million, which would allow your family to pay off all debts and start fresh. Emma's eyes widened as she realized Hartwell was offering 10 times what our company was supposedly worth in its current condition. He knew about the Innovate Solutions licensing deal and was trying to acquire both our company and my technology before federal agents could interfere. $15 million seems like a very generous offer for a company that's facing bankruptcy, I replied, following Agent Williams's hand signals to keep the conversation going. "We believe in the potential of family businesses, Mr. Morrison. Sometimes a fresh perspective and adequate capitalization can transform struggling operations into profitable enterprises. What would happen to our current employees? We'd retain most of your workforce, naturally. Although some operational changes might be necessary to improve efficiency." Agent Williams was taking notes rapidly, while other agents worked to trace the call and document evidence of criminal intent. "Mr. Hartwell, this is a significant decision that would affect my entire family. Could we meet in person to discuss the details?" "Of course. I'm actually in town this afternoon. Would 4 o'clock work for a preliminary meeting?" 4 o'clock would be perfect." "Excellent. I'll see you at Morrison Manufacturing's main office." "And Mr. Morrison?" "Yes? Bring your family. This type of decision should involve everyone who has a stake in the outcome." After ending the call, Agent Williams looked around the room with grim satisfaction. "He's walking directly into a federal trap. 4 o'clock today, Marcus Hartwell will attempt to acquire your family's business through criminal conspiracy, while federal agents document every word." Emma gripped my hand with desperate hope. "Is this really going to work? Your family is about to participate in the takedown of one of the most sophisticated corporate crime syndicates we've investigated in the past decade," Agent Williams replied. "By tomorrow morning, Hartwell Industries will be under federal indictment, and Morrison Manufacturing will be free to pursue its legitimate business opportunities. And by next week," I added, "we'll be implementing automation technology that transforms our company into exactly what Dad always dreamed it could become." But as we prepared for the final confrontation with Marcus Hartwell, none of us anticipated that he had spent 3 years planning for the possibility that his criminal activities might be discovered. The trap we were setting for him was also the trap he had been preparing for us. 6 months later, I stood in Morrison Manufacturing's completely renovated facility, watching 3 generations of my family work together in ways that would have been impossible before our crisis. Dad walked the factory floor with renewed energy, actively seeking input from employees about process improvements and technological innovations. Uncle Jerry had assumed the role of chief executive officer with natural leadership that balanced respect for tradition with enthusiasm for innovation. Emma managed client relations with a dedication and honesty that had transformed her from family embarrassment into trusted company ambassador. Her experience with corporate corruption made her uniquely qualified to recognize and avoid business relationships that prioritized short-term profit over long-term integrity. The federal prosecution of Hartwell Industries had resulted in 15-year prison sentences for Marcus Hartwell and his inner circle, while Emma's cooperation had earned her community service and a restitution plan that she embraced as an opportunity for redemption. Mom had become Morrison Manufacturing's most effective advocate in the community, organizing investment programs that allowed local families to purchase small ownership stakes in our expanding operation. The employee ownership program she developed ensured that our workers shared in the prosperity created by technological innovation and improved efficiency. The Innovate Solutions licensing agreement had generated $7.5 million in immediate revenue, but the ongoing implementation partnerships had proven even more valuable. Morrison Manufacturing now served as the primary technology integration partner for Innovate Solutions across the Midwest, generating annual revenues that exceeded $12 million while maintaining our identity as a family-owned business. Peterson Automotive had not only renewed their contract but expanded it to include advanced automation services worth $8 million annually. Other major corporations had followed Peterson's lead, creating a waiting list of clients who wanted access to our revolutionary manufacturing capabilities. The FBI investigation had exposed criminal conspiracies that extended far beyond Hartwell Industries into a network of corporate predators who specialized in destroying family businesses through systematic sabotage and financial manipulation. 17 families across 4 states had seen their companies restored and their financial losses compensated through federal asset seizures and restitution programs. Sarah's attempts to claim credit for my innovations had backfired spectacularly when the technology industry recognized her dishonesty and excluded her from opportunities at reputable companies. I had eventually helped her find an entry-level position at a nonprofit organization focused on supporting small business development, choosing mercy over revenge while maintaining appropriate boundaries. The automation systems that my family had once dismissed as worthless had transformed Morrison Manufacturing into a case study taught in business schools across the country. Graduate students analyzed our transition from traditional manufacturing to technology-integrated operations as an example of successful adaptation to 21st-century market demands. But the most meaningful transformation had occurred in our family relationships. The crisis that had temporarily torn us apart had ultimately revealed our capacity for growth, forgiveness, and mutual support when we faced challenges honestly, rather than pretending problems didn't exist. Dad and I now work together daily on strategic planning and technological development. His business experience and my technical expertise created synergies that neither of us could have achieved independently. He often told people that his heart attack had been the best thing that ever happened to him because it forced him to recognize what truly mattered before it was too late to change. Emma and I had developed a relationship built on mutual respect and shared commitment to family prosperity rather than sibling competition. Her marketing skills and my innovation capabilities complemented each other in ways that created opportunities for expansion and community engagement. She often said that prison time would have been easier than facing the daily responsibility of proving her trustworthiness through consistent ethical behavior. But that the difficulty made her redemption more meaningful. Mom had found her voice as a family leader and community advocate after years of enabling dysfunction through passive acceptance of unacceptable behavior. She now mediated conflicts with wisdom that balanced compassion with accountability, ensuring that forgiveness included consequences and that redemption required genuine change rather than just good intentions. Uncle Jerry had stepped into his role as family patriarch with grace and effectiveness that honored 4 generations of Morrison family tradition, while embracing innovations that ensured our survival and prosperity for generations to come. He often reminded us that businesses could die from comfort as easily as from crisis, and that our responsibility included preparing for challenges we couldn't yet imagine. I had learned that true success measured itself not just through personal achievement, but through the positive impact on families and communities connected to my choices. The technology that made me wealthy had also saved 78 jobs, strengthened a struggling community, and provided a foundation for sustainable prosperity that extended far beyond any individual's ambitions. Jennifer, the elementary school teacher I had met during our company's expansion, had become my partner in both business and life. Her dedication to education and community development complemented my focus on innovation and technological advancement. Together, we had established scholarship programs that provided local students with opportunities to pursue engineering and entrepreneurship while remaining connected to their families and communities. The automation systems that had caused my temporary disownment now employed more than 200 people across multiple states, with expansion plans that would create thousands of additional jobs over the next decade. Innovate Solutions had credited Morrison Manufacturing's implementation expertise with accelerating their market penetration by at least 3 years, generating value that extended far beyond our original licensing agreement. But standing in our modernized facility on this particular afternoon, watching automated production lines create perfect products with unprecedented efficiency, I found myself reflecting on lessons that extended beyond business success or family reconciliation. I had learned that disownment isn't about blood relationships or legal documents, or angry words exchanged during moments of crisis. Real family is built through choosing to stand together when everything falls apart, supporting each other through consequences of mistakes, and fighting for shared values even when individual interests might suggest different choices. The people who truly belong in your life will find ways to stay there when circumstances become difficult, while those who don't belong will reveal their true priorities when crisis forces everyone to choose between convenience and commitment. Success without integrity is just delayed failure, creating temporary prosperity that ultimately collapses when unethical foundations prove unable to support long-term growth. But integrity without forgiveness becomes lonely pride that isolates people from the very relationships that give meaning to achievement. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving you were right about past disagreements, but giving people the opportunity to prove they can change their future behavior. When you respond to betrayal with dignity and crisis with innovation, you don't just save yourself or your own interests. You save everyone brave enough to follow your example toward better choices. The technology that my family had dismissed as worthless had proven valuable not because it generated wealth, but because it created opportunities for people to build better lives through honest work and shared prosperity. Innovation serves its highest purpose when it strengthens communities rather than merely enriching individuals. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting consequences or pretending past mistakes didn't happen. It means choosing to focus energy on building better futures rather than punishing past failures, while maintaining appropriate accountability to prevent similar problems from recurring. Family isn't just about genetics or shared history. It's about shared commitment to supporting each other's growth toward becoming better people than any of us could become alone. The strongest families are those that survive their own dysfunction by facing problems honestly and working together toward solutions that serve everyone's legitimate interests. Sometimes being temporarily disowned is the price of becoming truly found, both by family members who learn to appreciate your value and by communities that benefit from your willingness to stand up for principles that serve the common good. The greatest innovations aren't just technological advances, but improvements in how people treat each other when facing the inevitable challenges that test every relationship and organization. When we choose cooperation over competition, integrity over manipulation, and forgiveness over revenge, we create technologies of human connection that prove more valuable than any software or machinery. Have you ever experienced a moment when family or friends misunderstood your efforts to help them? How did you handle the choice between protecting your own interests and continuing to serve people who didn't seem to appreciate your contributions? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below about how you've navigated the balance between loyalty and self-protection in your own relationships. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most challenging and ultimately rewarding periods of my life. I hope this story encourages you to pursue innovation and integrity, even when the people closest to you might not initially understand or support your vision. Please like this video if it resonated with your own experiences, subscribe for more stories about overcoming family and business challenges, and share this with anyone who might benefit from hearing about the power of choosing forgiveness and cooperation over resentment and isolation. Remember that sometimes the greatest success comes not from proving others wrong, but from creating opportunities for everyone to be right about what really matters. Building relationships and communities that serve the best interests of all people involved, especially those brave enough to choose growth over comfort when facing the inevitable challenges that test every family and organization.